Gentleman from Kentucky.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Before I begin my remarks, I would like to thank the gentleman for Washington for his magnanimous comments on the bipartisan spirit of this bill as we come to the floor right now. At least it's not as much animus as we find in the United States Senate. I rise today in support of this legislation to extend important benefits that help long-term unemployed workers, including unemployment insurance and health coverage assistance through COBRA. In addition, H.R. 4851 further postpones the drastic cuts to Medicare physician payment rates, a critical factor for our health care providers, as well as a number of other important provisions that expire at the end of the month or sooner. While I support this assistance, the American people should be under no illusion that this will create jobs. It does no such thing. In spite of claims last year that the Democrat stimulus package would keep unemployment from rising above 8%, it has risen from 5.5 to 9.7% nationwide and 10.7% in Kentucky. Just yesterday, senior administration officials testified they don't expect to see much improvement in the job market this year. We've already spent almost $100 billion on unemployment benefits, with another $50 billion in the pipeline through 2010. I'm disappointed that the majority has again chosen to subvert their so-called pay-go rules by not paying for this short-term extension. Again, 83% of the federal budget is exempt from the pay-go legislation that was supposed to pay as you go. While the bill before us today is necessary, it's not a long-term solution, it's inefficient, and it buys us time to actually fix the root causes. Instead of creating 3.7 million jobs as promised, the Democrat stimulus bill was followed by more than 3 million additional job losses. A record 16 million are now unemployed. A significant number are underemployed, and all Americans are asking one simple question that I hear all the time at home, and all of my colleagues do: where are the jobs? Record numbers are collecting unemployment benefits instead of paychecks. The need to pass this bill today reflects the failure of Democrats' stimulus bill and some subsequent efforts to create the jobs they promised. For this failure, we'll spend another $6 billion next month on federal unemployment benefits, borrowing that money from our children and our grandchildren. Millions will soon exhaust these benefits and wonder what comes next. What Americans want are jobs, not handouts. To really help unemployed workers, we need to craft policies that will actually create jobs so unemployed workers can get back to work. So capital will be invested, so companies will invest in machines and development and growth. So the market will come back and they will hire people who will in fact become taxpayers to contribute to the economy and to meet their own needs. Doing so requires ending the massive tax, spend, and borrow plans of the Democrat Congress and administration. These policies have created severe uncertainty among American workers and businesses that leads to economic stagnation and discourages hiring. If you want to look at the full fruit of such policies, all we need to do is look at Eastern Europe in the 1960s, the 1970s, and the 1980s that led to the collapse of the Soviet Empire. We could eliminate all of the uncertainty that we have today economically and get the private sector American job creation engine humming again by immediately providing real tax relief to businesses and families across the nation. In addition, we should scrap plans for a government takeover of health care and focus on reform that actually reduces cost. Re-engineer the government system that wastes almost $200 billion a year on overhead that never sees the way to senior citizen health benefits. Do the private market reforms and bring about meaningful medical liability reform that will end defensive medicine costs that cost almost 1/3 of all medical costs. We should rescind unspent funds from the failed stimulus bill and the Troubled Asset Relief Program, the so-called TARP bill, and apply all of these funds to one thing, which is reducing our deficit, which I believe the gentleman from Kentucky, the United States Senator, tried to do 2 weeks ago and was disparaged by people in the Democratic Party, in the House and the Senate and in the administration for simply saying, let's pay for something with money that we already have available. Businesses can't thrive in an economy falsely buoyed by temporary stimulus jobs and taxpayer-funded bailouts. In order to create jobs, we've got to empower the people to make their own choices. We need to craft legislation in Congress that won't cause additional harm to our economy, but will instead give Americans the flexibility they need to grow their businesses. And with that, Madam Speaker, I reserve the balance of my time.